If it's Saturday night, it is strictly sports NFL Saturday. So hello friends, it is ridiculously over Anthony Florio sitting in tonight for the Hardcore Pipe. I'm Derek Ferreira, and all I can say is, that happened today. I mean, my goodness. I mean, oh boy. But I do apologize for the late start. Of course, as you know, Derek Ferreira not with us tonight. He went to the WWE live event at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence. And Michael Fletcher, our other colleague, had work commitments, which is the norm for him, as always. And and since there's no Derek Ferreira and there's no Michael Fletcher, well, you know what that means. No authority nonsense tonight. The Yes Movement runs the show here tonight. Yes, 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 indeed. Um, the president and vice president of the Rhode Island chapters of the Yes Movement, we're leading this shindig tonight. And and with that said, I am joined by my vice president of the Rhode Island chapter of the Yes Movement and our resident phenom, the one and only Mr. Michael Bullock. And all I can say before we get started, I just want to real quickly just want to make a quick statement. I want to make it clear and to the point. If you didn't see any of the college football action today, all I can say is, what the hell are you doing today? I mean, my goodness. I mean, in all the years I have been watching college football, I can honestly say that this college football Saturday was, to me, the greatest college football Saturday I have ever seen in my entire life. For the first time since 1990, four of the top six teams in the AP poll all lost. Back in 90, it was number one Virginia, number three Nebraska, number four Auburn, and number five Illinois. All went down in the same day, week 11, 1990. This week six in 2014, number two Oregon loses Thursday night to Arizona. And then today, number three Alabama loses to Ole Miss. Number four Oklahoma loses to TCU. And on top of that, number six Texas A&M loses to Mississippi State. Oh, by the way, I believe I had that one because I did the show last night, and I'm pretty sure I was the only one of us who picked who had the cojones, if you will, to pick Mississippi State. And boy, howdy, did that pay off. And now we may have another top 10 team bite the dust as UCLA is in trouble as they're losing to Utah. Utah at home. I'm freaking real, man. And and not only this, but Major League Baseball, they felt left out. So they're like, you know what? We want to join the party too. Oh yeah, they joined the party all right. I don't know if you know about this, Michael Bullock, but the San Francisco Giants and the Washington Nationals basically played two games for the price of one. They played an 18-inning Game 2 of their National League Division Series. That's right, 18 innings, and the longest postseason game in the history of baseball postseason. Time of the game, get this, 6 hours and 23 minutes. That's how long that game took. And it was the San Francisco Giants who came away with a 2-1 win. Oh, goodness. And on top of this, the St. Louis Cardinals and Los Angeles Dodgers, they're playing game 2 of their division series, and that game is tied up. Craziest sports day in the history of this. And all I can say is, for the National Football League, how are you going to top this? I got two words for you. You can't. There is no way you are topping this craziness. No, 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 indeed, Michael Bullock. I mean, with all these upsets today. And all I can say is this. Before I throw it into Michael Bullock, because I definitely want to get your thoughts on this, Bullock, before we get started on our NFL show here. All I can say is this. This Friday night, we have another all-new edition of Strictly Sports College Football Friday. I'm going to be running the show because Derek Ferreira is going to be in Hartford, Connecticut, covering the U.S. men's soccer team. I run the show, and all I can say is this. Get ready for the biggest shakeup in any power rankings. NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, college football, what have you. The biggest shakeup, any power rankings, like the great Tony Schiavone would say, in the history of our program. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. And yes, Michael Bullock, you damn right, Roger Goodell. He is he's quivering right now. He is nervous, knowing that he has to find a way to top the craziness of today. And wow, Florida State, they rolled. Auburn, they rolled. Notre Dame with a huge win against Stanford, five-star classic. Michigan State nearly collapses against Nebraska, but they got it done. So I don't know what else there is to say, man. Greatest college football Saturday ever, and then throw in a postseason game for the ages with the Giants and the Nationals in Game 2. I mean, wow. 18 innings, 2 games for the price of 1. Those fans at Nationals Park in D.C. tonight got more than their money's worth, just like we did with all this college football today. So with that said, Michael Bullock, I want to get your thoughts on this. Just your thoughts on this greatest college football Saturday ever. And if you want to talk about the Giants and the Nationals 5-star 18-inning game, floor is yours, brother.
All right. Well, thank you very much, ridiculously over Anthony Florio. And yes, and all I can say is it's got to be one of the craziest, not just craziest, one of the craziest days in not just college football history, but in sports history, if I'm going to be quite honest here. Because, I mean, like you said, four teams in the top 10 fell today. I mean, you got to go all the way back to 1990, the last time this happened. I mean, you pretty much touched on it when you posted it on Facebook. You had like #1 Virginia basically go down during that year, and I mean, I could basically go on and on and on and on. I mean, and like you said, I mean, we had Alabama losing. I mean, we had them lose today. We had Oregon, of course, lose on Thursday. And then, of course, we had Texas A&M. I mean, they lose, and they lost by like 17 points to Mississippi State. And of course, the Sooners getting upset by TCU, and we may have to make it 5 teams if the score stands. Because, like you said, right now Utah is leading UCLA 17-14 with about 5:45 left in the third quarter. I mean, all I can say is this is definitely going to shake up the power rankings come Friday night, and I'll also say this is going to shake up the landmark of the whole college football playoff. I'll tell you that right now. And there are some teams that are going to benefit from this. The Auburn Tigers, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and you know who else I think could benefit from this? If I could fun, I think you got to put Baylor in that conversation as well. I mean, so as of right now, if the season were to end today, you could have Florida State, Baylor, Auburn, and Notre Dame. I mean, and could you imagine if that were the case? Could you imagine the possibility of a rematch from last year's national championship game? I mean, that's something, but we still got a long way to go. But all in all, I mean, this was definitely one of the craziest days in college football history, and it could get crazier if UCLA does end up losing this game. And as far as that game with the Nationals and the Giants, wow! I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna make a bold statement: greatest divisional series game of all time. I mean, this game went 18 innings and is now the longest postseason game ever. And I mean, when you think of longest postseason games ever, and Anthony, you know where I'm going with this one. You got to go back to 2004. That memorable ALCS between the Red Sox and the Yankees, especially in games 4 and 5 of that series, where they were back-to-back nights. They set postseason records for the longest postseason game ever. Yep, that game 5, that one went 14 innings, and game 4 went into the 12th inning. He, you saw everything, and the big hit of the game was Brandon Belt's home run in the 18th inning that gave the Giants a 2-1 lead. And wow, all I can say is, as of right now, the Nationals are in trouble. I'll tell you that right now, because they got to go to AT&T Park and do what a numerous number of teams have done, including the 2003 Boston Red Sox when they came back. Oh, and the 1999 Boston Red Sox as well. Yeah, and the Tigers and Angels are in trouble too. I mean, and here's the thing: 3 teams that we thought that could possibly go to the World Series, they're in trouble. The Nationals, the Tigers, and the Angels. I mean, the Angels, they got to go into Kauffman Stadium, that raucous crowd that we saw in what I thought was the greatest wild card game ever. I mean, can you imagine what that place is going to be like tomorrow? Oh. All I can say is to the Angels, I hate to say it, but you're going to get swept. I'm sorry to say it, and I'm going to use a phrase that Alberto Del Rio once said in the WWE, and it's that D word, destiny. That's what it's about for the Royals. It's about destiny. And could you imagine, we could have an ALCS matchup between the Kansas City Royals and the Baltimore Orioles. If you asked me that going into the season, I would have said you're crazy. But this is why we, as baseball fans, we love October baseball. Yeah, 2 hard times, written teams over the last 20 plus years, and now they could possibly be meeting in the ALCS. And wow, and this makes for a very interesting Sunday, not just, of course, with the NFL, but in Major League Baseball as well. So, wow, all I can say is, what a crazy day it was, and could it get crazier tomorrow? We're just going to have to wait and find out. So with that being said, Florio, I say we move on and talk about the games for Week 5.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I mean, we'll have to wait and see if tomorrow can top the craziness of today. I mean, and
I don't think it can. I'll tell you that right now.
No, especially with how those Thursday night NFL games have been as of late, with an average margin of victory of 29 points a game. No way. But you never know. There could be a 5-star classic or 2. You never know. But we'll see. I mean, Bullock makes a great point. I mean, imagine if the 2014 ALCS ends up being the Baltimore Orioles and the Kansas City Royals, 2 teams that have been ridden in hard times for so many years. So many losing seasons. I mean, for KC, it would be the first time since '85. That was also the last time they won it all. In fact, the only time they've won it all. And for the Orioles, it would be their first ALCS appearance since '97, when they lost in 6 to Cleveland. So we all remember that. So big things coming indeed. I mean, big day of NFL, and of course those 2 postseason games as well. So definitely a big Saturday indeed. So, I mean, big Sunday indeed. I mean, I do apologize. I mean, I'm so damn excited. I mean, I'm freaking real. So, all right. So with that said, let's dive in here. This is Week 5 of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday. You know what we do here. We give our predictions for each NFL game. We go down the odds. We go down the history of all the series. So we have, I believe, 14 games on the docket. So with that said, let's get into our first matchup. It is going to be the Chicago Bears going up against the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going to start it off here. So we have Carolina, believe it or not, as the favorite. They're 2.5 3-point favorites in this one, and I don't know why, because they've been playing like crap the last couple of weeks. Well, let's take a look at it. I mean, looking at the series history, I believe Carolina leads this all time. No, Chicago does. 5 games to 2 in the regular season. In fact, Chicago's won the last 3 meetings, including the last one in Carolina, which was in 2010. Carolina last beat Chicago at home in 2008. So there you go. Um, a little bit tough to call, but I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears in this one. I mean, it's Carolina. Let's face it. I mean, they get off to that great start, 2-0. I mean, wins against Tampa Bay and Detroit, and then what happened? They get blown away by Pittsburgh on the national stage on Sunday night a couple weeks ago, and then on top of that, they get their brains beat out by by their former star receiver's new team, the Baltimore Ravens. We'll get into them later, but unbelievable. But gotta go with Chicago here. I mean, even though Chicago got blown away themselves by the Green Bay Packers, um, I still think Jay Cutler's going to have a good game. Matt Forte, I think he'll get into the act. Brandon Marshall, Martellus Bennett. The defense, I think they'll get to Cam Newton. They'll fluster him and everything else. So I know the spreads favor Carolina, but I don't favor Carolina. I favor Chicago in this one. And I do believe Tom Brenneman, David Deal, and Laura Oakman will be calling the game for Fox, according to my announcer blog that I read. So I'll check on that in just a moment. But I'm pretty sure that's the announcer crew I remember seeing when I read it earlier. So give me the Chicago Bears in this one. I'm going to say the final score is going to be 34-13. Chicago's going to roll against Carolina behind Cutler and company. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on Chicago and Carolina?
Yes, you know what? I gotta go with you. I gotta go with the Chicago Bears in this one. I mean, like you said, Carolina was off to that 2-0 start, and then what happened? I mean, they basically have been stinking up the joint, and I'll tell you this right now. I mean, I like what I've seen from Chicago, and I mean, yeah, they're 2-2 as well, but to me, I like their body of work better than Carolina, because especially after the way Carolina got blown out by the Baltimore Ravens. So yes, yeah, give me the Chicago Bears in this one. I think the final score is going to be I'm gonna go 30-20 right now. Yeah, Cutler's going to go off, Marshall's going to go off, and yeah, so give me the Bears. So with that being said, let's move on to the next game for you.
Yes, and we're going to move on to the next game, and this is going to be a good one. We got a battle of 3-1 teams. We got the Houston Texans going up against the Dallas Cowboys. According to my announcer blog here, Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts, and our old good friend Jenny Dell, they're going to be on the call for this game. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on this one? Who you got, Houston or Dallas?
All right, well, I mean, it's the Battle of Texas here, Florio. We got the Battle of Texas with Houston and Dallas going at it, and I mean, you saw what the Cowboys did last week, and when they basically blew out the New Orleans Saints in this one, and I mean, we both had New Orleans winning that one, and it turns out Dallas proved us wrong here, and of course, yeah, Houston, of course. Sorry about that. Of course, Houston coming off of a loss last week, so of course, thanks to of course the way Ryan Fitzpatrick played in that game. So to me, I'm gonna go with the Dallas Cowboys in this one. I mean, I know some people are saying, I mean, look, I mean, give Houston some time, but the thing is, Ryan Fitzpatrick's the quarterback. I just don't believe in him. I mean, I'd rather have Tony Romo than Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I'm gonna say the final score is gonna be, I'm gonna go 30-21 in this one. I think Romo's going to go off. I think you're going to see Dez Bryant's going to go off, and yeah, and the defense I think is going to hold off Ryan Fitzpatrick. And here's another reason. I mean, Yep, hold on a minute. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, getting back to what I was talking about when it came to Ryan Fitzpatrick. In the past two games, he has been intercepted 5 times after going the first two games without posting an interception, while he posted a 118.4 passer rating. So the last two games, he's been basically sticking up the joint. So give me the Dallas Cowboys in this one. So Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, going into the season, if any of you guys told me that this Houston Dallas game was actually going to be, when it comes to our side of the ball, the AFC side of the ball, the CBS side of the ball, that it was going to be, the second biggest game of the week, I would have called you all crazy. But here we are. They're both 3-1. I mean, Houston coming off of a victory over my Buffalo Bills, shocker there. And then of course the Dallas Cowboys. Wow. If you were to tell me that they were gonna not only beat the New Orleans Saints but holiday anthem, again, I would have called you all crazy. But here we are. Dallas got it done. Tony Romo. Who would have thought Tony Romo would actually outplay Drew Brees? Never thought those words would come out of my mouth, but they did. Um, and Dallas is, believe it or not, a sizable favorite here. They're a 6 to 6.5 point favorite in this game. And I mean, Houston had to come from behind to beat Buffalo. Because remember, Buffalo had them down early. They had them down 10-0 early, and then J.J. Watt had an 80-yard interception return that totally changed the game around and tipped the game in favor of Houston. And Houston held on for a win. And then Dallas, I mean, Romo went off, Des Bryant went off, DeMarco Murray. I mean, wow. DeMarco Murray right now, I have to say, is the best running back in the National Football League right now. I mean, he has been playing out of his mind as of late. Unbelievable. But yeah, and as far as this game goes, I think Romo's gonna have another big game. I think Murray's gonna have another big game. Maybe we'll get some Des Bryant in there. Maybe some Jason Witten. The defense, I think they're gonna fluster Ryan Fitzpatrick, my old buddy. So I'm gonna agree with you on this one, Michael Bullock. I'm gonna go with the Dallas Cowboys to win this game as well. I think it's gonna be a closer game than people think. So I'm gonna say Dallas wins this one by a final count of 31-24. Um, yeah, so I think Fitzpatrick will have a solid game, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Romo's going to have another big game. I really do. And I don't know how Arian Foster's going to be. He's been having some injury bug issues as of late. Andre Johnson hasn't been himself lately, but they do have DeAndre Hopkins, who has been a pleasant surprise for them. So because he's been a great rookie for them. So, but at the end of the day, Dallas has just been really, really impressive, and because of that, I got to go with the boys in this one. 31-24. That's the final there. So, oh, and I do want to mention in the series history, Dallas leads it 2 games to 1. Houston won the very first meeting between these two teams in 2002. Oh, by the way, that was the Houston Texans' very first game as a franchise. I know you remember this very well, Michael Bogan, on that Sunday night at Reliant Stadium, or as they call it now, NRG Stadium. Houston won that game 19-10, but they've had 2 other meetings since. Dallas has won them both, and they've outscored them pretty substantially. They've outscored them 61-19 in those 2 meetings that Dallas has won, including the last and only other time in Dallas, 34-6, 2006. That was at the old Texas Stadium. This will be the first time ever that these two are meeting in Jerry World. So, but nonetheless, I got to go with Dallas in this one. They've just been playing out of their minds as of late, and I've been very, very impressed with their body of work. No question. So, 31-24 Dallas wins. So let's go on to our next matchup. It's going to be my Buffalo Bills going up against the Detroit Lions. I'm going to take this one, obviously, because, it's my team, but Detroit a favorite here, 6.5 to 7 point favorites. I mean, that's not a surprise. I mean, we've seen what they've been doing as of late. All-time series, it's tied, 4 games apiece with a tie. Buffalo won the last meeting in 2010. That was in Buffalo. Detroit won the last meeting in Detroit. That was in 2006. There's only one other time. There's only one time that Buffalo actually won in Detroit. That was a 20-17 win in 1979. Of course, that was when the Detroit Lions, of course, were playing in a venue very near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure Bullock's heart as well, the old Pontiac Silverdome. We'll never forget it. But Yeah, and every time I think about that Pontiac Silverdome, man, if you've seen what it looks like nowadays, that thing's completely in shambles now, and it's so sad to see. It's very disturbing. So that's all I can say on that. But it's not the Silverdome; it's at Ford Field, as everybody knows. And Buffalo, well, where have we seen this before? 2008 and no, 2003, 2008, 2011. Buffalo got off to hot starts, but what happened? They self-destructed, and what are they going to do this time around? Well, they're going to follow suit. They're going to self-destruct again. I mean, the 2-0 start, you know, they win in Chicago first time ever. Then they beat a very good Dolphin team coming off a equally huge win of their own, beating Bullock and Derek's Patriots. And then, oh, how Buffalo has fallen. Losing to San Diego very substantially. And then Houston, choking away that win against Houston. I mean, they had that game in hand, but J.J. Watt, like I said, turned that game around totally. And now you're facing a damn good Lion team with Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford playing out of his mind. And even though Calvin Johnson was held in check by the Jets, they still beat the Jets last week in Detroit. And Calvin Johnson only had 2 catches for 12 yards. That's it. Hard to believe, but still, I mean, I have to go with the Lions here. I mean, I have been very impressed with this team's body of work, especially Jim Caldwell, who's now their offensive coordinator. You remember Jim Caldwell? He was the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He took that team to Super Bowl 44 back in the '09 season before, losing to the New Orleans Saints and one of the more memorable Super Bowls in recent memory. February of 2010, as everybody remembers. But at the end of the day, Detroit, Stafford, big game. I think Calvin Megatron Johnson, I think this is where he'll bounce back. I think he's going to have at least 100 yards, at least 1, maybe 2 scores. Running game, Drake Bell, Reggie Bush. I think they'll get into the action as well. And there's really nothing left for me to say. And then the defense with Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley, I think they're going to fluster Kyle Orton, because Kyle Orton's going to be starting this game for E.J. Manuel. Oh, boy. Duck and cover, my friends. That's not going to be pretty. So Detroit's going to win. They're going to win big. Final score for me, I'm going to say 41-14. The Detroit Lions will roll the Buffalo Bills. And oh, by the way, believe it or not, this is going to be on Fox. This is going to be a Fox game. I mean, it really should have been a CBS game, to be quite honest, but apparently they've been doing this, what they call cross-flexing, which, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of opposed to it, to be honest with you. I'm a traditionalist, as you know. I mean, this game really should have been on CBS, but that's just my way of thinking. Sam Rosen, Dave Barber, and Jennifer Hale, they're going to have the call on Fox of this game, so just in case you wanted to know that. So Lions roll 41-14. Stafford, Megatron, and company, they're going off. They're going to be feeding. They're going to be feasting on some Kyle Orton and my Buffalo Bills. Not going to be pretty, my friends. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yes, I got to go with the Detroit Lions as well. I mean, Buffalo. They were off to a good start at the beginning of the year, but but now you got Kyle Orton starting. Yeah, that's not going to be pretty there. So it's an easy choice. Give me the Detroit Lions in this one. I think the final's going to be. I'm going to go 31-14 in this one. Stafford's going to go off. Bush is going to go off. Calvin Megatron Johnson's going to go off, and yeah, the defense led by Ndamukong Suh is going to make Kyle Orton's day not really good. So yeah, there's really nothing else for me to say except getting the Lions in this one. So let's just move on to the next game for you.
And we got another big one coming up. Another battle of a 3-1 against a 2-2, which is the case of Buffalo and Detroit. And Michael Bull, you get to lead off on this one. This is going to be a good one for you. The Baltimore Ravens going up against the Indianapolis Colts from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. According to my announcer blog, Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon are going to have the call. And on top of this, according to my program guide on my Dish Network here, we're going to be getting this game on Channel 12 tomorrow. So we're actually going to get to have some fun watching this one. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on the Ravens and the Colts? Should be a good one.
All right, this has got a chance to be something really good here. And of course, the last time these two teams met was, of course, 2 seasons ago in that wild card game where, of course, Baltimore beat Indianapolis, of course, which eventually led to Baltimore winning that Super Bowl that year, Super Bowl 47. Yeah, and of course the Colts coming off of a 41-17 win, and of course the Ravens with a 38-10 victory, of course, over Carolina, and of course leading by that running game of theirs led by Justin Forsett. So this got a chance to be something good here. So man, this is tough to say. But Indianapolis, unfortunately, on defense, they had a key loss here. LaRon Landry suspended 4 games for violating the league's substance abuse policy. Yeah, he had to go and act like a nog and a diva. If I'm going to be, yeah. And of course, you know how we are about this. We have zero tolerance on it, and yes, no, 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 no. So I think that's going to hurt them a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. So, oh, it's tough to call, but I think in the end, I'm going to say I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts in this one because they are playing at home, and yeah, I think they're playing. Yeah, they are playing at home, and it's going to be close. I'll tell you that right now. I think the final score is going to be 31-28. I'm going to say it. I think you're going to see Luck have a good game. I think you're going to see Reggie Reggie Wayne have a good game. I think you're going to see the defense do just enough to slow down that Baltimore Ravens offense. So give me the Colts in this one, and it's got the potential to be a 5-star classic. So we'll have to wait and see on that. So Florida, it's yours.
And some breaking news from Major League Baseball: the Los Angeles Dodgers defeat the St. Louis Cardinals 3-2. And believe it or not, we actually have an even series. It's a one-game apiece series now between the Dodgers and the Cardinals, whereas all the other series are 2 games to none. So big win for the Dodgers indeed. So of course, Game 3 of that series will be on Monday. So keep your eye on that. So just wanted to share that real quick. So all right, let's move on. Wow. This is a very tough one to call because both of these teams have been playing very well as of late. And oh, by the way, both of these teams are in my power rankings, by the way, just to let you know. Um, Baltimore, what can we say? I mean, they had that tough luck loss to the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 1, but what have they done lately? I mean, they put a whooping on Pittsburgh in that Thursday night game, that first real Thursday night game in Week 2, coming off that emotional week. We're not going to get into that because we're sick and tired of that. I mean, and then of course they get a big win in Cleveland. They escaped Cleveland with a victory. They almost got upset by the Browns, but they found a way to get that done. And then last week, you know, Steve Smith wanted to go beast mode against his former team and said, "That's what you get for trading me." And that's exactly what he said. He said, "Blood and guts." Well, oh yeah, we got blood and guts indeed, man. Unreal. 38-10 beatdown of the Carolina Panthers at home. So well, look what Indianapolis has done. I mean, they started 0-2. 2 tough luck losses. I mean, a tough loss to Denver. They just dug themselves too big of a hole against Denver, but they found a but almost pulled that one out. And then they choked. They they gagged it against Philadelphia on the Monday night in Week 2. And then since then, look what they've done against Jacksonville and Tennessee. Killed them both. I mean, Andrew Luck in those games had nearly 400 yards passing and 4 TDs in both of those. I mean, he's back to his old self. I mean, 2 hot quarterbacks right now, Joe Flacco, Andrew Luck. I mean, both of these guys are going to have big games, I think. Steve Smith, I think he's going to have another big game. Same can be said for Reggie Wayne. Also, watch out for my boy, my fantasy stud, T.Y. Hilton. I think he's going to have a big game as well. Maybe the running games, we'll see, Justin Forsett and, that rookie, that Lorenzo guy for Baltimore. Don't want to bungle his last name. And then, Trent Richardson for Indianapolis. And all I can say is basically there's probably going to be any defense in this one, if I'm being honest. I think this is going to be a 5-star classic and a 5-star shootout. I really do. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts in this one. I'm going to agree with you on this one, Bullock. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore stole that one. But with the way Andrew Luck has been playing as of late, I can't go against them. So I'm going to go with Indy in this one. I think it's going to be a little more higher scoring than you have it, just a little bit. But I do want to check the spread real quick. Indy's a 3 to 3.5 point favorite in this one, and I also in the series history, Indy leads that series 7-3. Last regular season meeting was in 2011. Baltimore won that 24-10 in Baltimore. Last time they met in Indy was in 2008, and Indy put a whooping on them, 31-3. So it ain't gonna be no holiday hand job. It's gonna be a 5-star shootout. But at the end of the day, I think Andrew Luck's just gonna by a smidge outplay Joe Flacco. And who knows? Maybe it could come down to Mr. Bullock's old friend Adam Vinatieri, perhaps. Maybe you never know. So final score in this one, give me the Indianapolis Colts, 38-35. I think that's going to be the final score. And what I think is going to be a wild and crazy game at Lucas Oil Stadium tomorrow. So Colts win 38-35. That's all I can say about that. So with that said, let's move on to our next matchup in Week 5 of the NFL. See what I have here. It's going to be we go from a damn good matchup to a really bad one. In fact, the Zonk game of the week, in all honesty. The Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to take this one, and let me just say it like this. First off, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're a joke. I just want to get that off my chest. They're a joke. And let me just say, and I know Michael Bullock's going to agree with me on this. Pittsburgh, I just have one question. I just have a one-word question for you. Really? Really? Did you see what they did last week? You let a dud enhancement team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whose nowadays uniforms are an absolute cheap ripoff of the Orlando Rage of the XFL. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember the Orlando Rage? I mean, those uniforms are very similar to theirs. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they borrowed those, for God's sakes. But Pittsburgh, what the hell happened? You had Tampa well in hand, and you choke it away, and you let them come into your house and beat you guys? No. Pointless, unnecessary, unacceptable, inexcusable, reprehensible, borderline irresponsible, and downright criminal. That's horrible. You should have won that game handily. I had you guys winning 45-7, and you lose 27-24. You let Mike Glennon outplay your franchise quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Anytime Mike Glennon outplays your franchise quarterback, you got problems, man. You got big time problems. And it's because of that, the Pittsburgh Steelers, get out. You're not even in the power rankings. Get the hell out of there. Get the hell out of there with that crap. You kidding me? Horrible. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, well, you know how I feel about them. They need to be contracted immediately. Yeah, that team has no business playing football, if I'm being honest with you. Get them out of Jacksonville and move them to Los Angeles, because that city needs an NFL franchise. Enough said. It's been way too long since that city hasn't had an NFL franchise. I'm just going to make this short and sweet. Pittsburgh is a 6 to 7 point favorite. I am hopeful that this is my lock of the week here. And let me check who's going to be on the call for this one. I believe it's Spiro Ditas' game. Yes, it's going to be Spiro Ditas and Solomon Wilcots. They're going to be calling this game for CBS. And I feel sorry for those people in Pittsburgh and Jacksonville and whoever else has to sit through this average and mediocre matchup. I mean, thank God we're getting Baltimore and Indy, because that's a game I can get behind. There's no way I would want to sit through this BS. No thanks. So, but on the positive side, these two used to be division rivals, in the old AFC Central. Everybody knows that. And believe it or not, Jacksonville leads the all-time series 11-10. However, Pittsburgh has won the last two meetings, including the last one in Jacksonville, which was in 2008, 26-21. Jacksonville last beat Pittsburgh at home in 2006. That was a 9-0 game. So, I'm going to say it like this. If you thought I was angry and PO'd about how Pittsburgh lost to Tampa Bay at home, just imagine what I will do if they lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the worst team in football today. Yes, even worse than the Oakland Raiders, who are not playing this week, mercifully, but they are next week. But anyways, this is your chance for redemption, Pittsburgh. Get this one right. I'm going to go with you guys because on paper, you are far and away better. They're going to be angry and pissed off after that loss. Ben Roethlisberger, big game. I think Le'Veon Bell's going to have a big game. Antonio Brown, big game. Defense, they're going to get to Blake Bortles and shut down, their weapons such as Mercedes Lewis and everything else. So get this one right, Pittsburgh. I'm going to give you one last chance. Oh, yeah, definitely both. You're absolutely right on that. If they lose, who knows how long it'll be before they earn our trust to be back in the power rankings again. But if they do win this game, which they better, then maybe, just maybe, mind you, we'll put them back in. But they're going to need at least a couple of chips to fall. But then again, with the way college football today went, anything can happen. That's all I can say. Pittsburgh wins this one, and I think they're going to win this one handily. I hope. Give me Pittsburgh in this one. 35-10. Get it right, Pittsburgh. Or else you're going to have a very angry, ridiculously over rant coming your way next week. 35-10 Pitt wins. Roethlisberger and company all will have big games. They better have big games. Enough said. Bullet, George.
Yeah, last week when Pittsburgh lost to Tampa Bay, I was basically left shaking and saying to myself, really? Really, Pittsburgh? You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. To lose to a dud enhancement team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's pointless, unnecessary, unacceptable, inexcusable, irresponsible, and borderline reprehensible. And yeah, this is going to be the dud game of the week here. And this is the chance for them to right the ship here, and I think they will. And I think the final score is going to be, I think it's going to be 45-0 in this one. But I will tell you this: if for some reason Pittsburgh loses to Jacksonville, Anthony Florio, you're not going to be the only one who goes on a rant. I will be joining you on a phenom rant about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I also said in the chat, they will not be sniffing the power rankings, and they will not be getting my trust. And yes, there's that shocked Undertaker fan meme there that says, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, after losing at home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, if they do lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're going to have to change that to Pittsburgh Steelers fans after losing to the dud Jacksonville Jaguars. So, yeah, and you just created that. So, yeah, so get it right, Pittsburgh. So, nothing else to say except Pittsburgh wins big time. But you know what? After the way we saw with college football today, you never know. Maybe Jacksonville could pull off the upset, but I don't see that happening. Give me Pittsburgh in this one. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, that was a meme I meant to create. A very rare meme here on Strictly Sports. Usually we go meme crazy on the wrestling forum, and I wouldn't be surprised if we end up going meme crazy again on Monday night. So, we'll get into that at the end of the show. But anyways, let's get on to our next matchup here, and let's see what we have for Week 5. It's going to be, well, speaking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we're going to talk about them next, actually, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be going up against the New Orleans Saints at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. On the call for this game for Fox, it will be, bear with me for a moment, it will be the great Dick Stockton, along with Kirk Morrison and Christina Pink for Fox. So, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on Tampa Bay and New Orleans?
Yeah, of course, like we just mentioned, Tampa Bay coming off of an upset win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, and New Orleans, and of course, coming off of a rare blowout loss to the Dallas Cowboys, and both teams come in 1-3, especially the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that we expected to go to the playoffs, and right now they're 1-3, and that's not cool right now with the Saints. So, yeah, I think this is the game where New Orleans is going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back in a big way. Saints are going to win this one. Final score, I think it's going to be 38-7 in this one. I think you're going to see Breeze go off. I think you're going to see that defense basically shut down that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. So, but a key loss for the Saints defensively, Jarius Byrd was done for the season after suffering a knee injury in practice on Thursday. So they're going to take a hit defensively, but they're still going to beat Tampa Bay big time. So give me the Saints in this one. So Wario, it's yours.
Yes. New Orleans is the biggest favorite of the week according to my spreads. They're 10 to 11 point favorites. So with that said, we're gonna have to make this the lock of the week because because whoever is the biggest favorite, that's automatically the lock of the week, regardless of who it is. And New Orleans is at home. Here's the thing: they suck on the road, but they're awesome at home. They hardly lose in the Superdome, the home of WrestleMania 30, the Miracle on Bourbon Street, Daniel Bryan. Enough said. Everybody knows that. But anyways. Series history, New Orleans leads it 27 games to 17. As a matter of fact, New Orleans has won the last 5 meetings in the series. Tampa Bay last won in New Orleans in 2010, 23-13 final there. But New Orleans has won the last 3 meetings in the Dome, and they've outscored the Saints. I mean, they've won them all in convincing fashion, and they have outscored Tampa in those 3 games by a combined score of, get this bullet, 110 to 33. 110 to 33 in those 3 games. 27-16 in 2011, 41-0 in 2012, and then 42-17 last year. So, you think there's going to be another Mike Glennon miracle here? Nope, not this time. At least I hope not. Drew Brees, big game. Marcus Colston, big game. Jimmy Graham, big game. Maybe we'll see Pierre Thomas. We'll see. Hopefully the defense will get their act together. So, yeah, they're inhuman in the Dome, and I think they're going to be inhuman here. So, give me New Orleans in this one. Lock of the week. Let's hope this lock of the week goes my way here. New Orleans wins, and they're going to win this one pretty handily. I'm going to say final in this one. Let's go. I'm going to try. I'm going to go 55-10 in this one. I mean, I know that's a little lopsided, but I just got to say, Breeze goes off, and let's just hope that New Orleans gets their act together. Because if New Orleans lets Tampa Bay go into their house and beat them, just like Pittsburgh let Tampa beat them in their house last week, that's grounds for another rant. That's all I can say about that. So get it right, New Orleans. I mean, this was a team that many predicted to not only go to the Super Bowl but win it. That's all I can say about that. And Derek Ferrera, he said that New Orleans was going to win the Super Bowl. They lose this game, they're not even going to get a sniff at that. This is a must-win for New Orleans. They have to win this game, and I think they will. 55-10, New Orleans wins, lock of the week. Enough said. Let's just move on and get into our next matchup on Strictly Sports NFL Saturday for Week 5. It will be bear with me for one moment, the Atlanta Falcons going up against the New York Giants. That's the next game we're going to get into. Giants 4-point favorites in this one, and calling this game for Fox, it will be Kevin Burkhardt, John Lynch, and Pam Oliver, and we're gonna be getting this game on our Fox affiliate, Fox Providence. So I'm gonna start it off on this one. Falcons lead the all-time series 11 games to 10. Atlanta won the last meeting in 2012, 34-0 in the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Last meeting in New York was in 2009. The Giants won that 34-31 in overtime, 5-star classic. Atlanta last time Atlanta beat the Giants at the Meadowlands was in 2004, 14-10 victory there. That was in the old Giants Stadium, as we all remember. So a little bit tough to call here. I mean, if you got 2-2-2 teams, I mean, Atlanta, they got that big win against New Orleans, and then they got beat down by Cincinnati, and then, of course, they had that obliteration of Tampa Bay on that Thursday night game, the worst Thursday night football game in the history of Thursday night football, an absolute dud from start to finish. And then they lose to the Minnesota Vikings, of all teams, to Teddy Bridgewater, and a number 28 list Minnesota Vikings team. at TCF Bank Stadium. I mean, unbelievable. But how about the Giants, though? I mean, they start 0-2, and we're thinking, here we go again. It's going to be another hard times written season for this team. After, losing, after getting beat down by Detroit and then losing to Arizona. They get two big wins against Houston and then another Thursday night football obliteration of the Washington Redskins. So I got to say right now, Eli Manning is playing his best football at the right time. And how about Larry Donnell? Remember that name, Larry Donnell. 3 receiving touchdowns in that game. He led all fantasy tight ends in fantasy points. Go figure that. Over names like Jimmy Graham and Heath Miller and Antonio Gates, just to name a few. All the other major tight ends were on bye last week, but they're all here this week. But anyways, this is a bit tough to call for me. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take a chance here, and I'm actually going to go with the New York Giants in this one. I mean, I think the Giants are playing better right now, and Atlanta, not really been the same since that New Orleans win and, of course, that Atlanta win. I mean, but then again, both of those wins were at home, and their 2 losses both on the road, losing to Cincinnati convincingly, and then also losing somewhat convincingly to Minnesota, hard to believe. Game they really should have won, but they lost. But I do think this has the potential to be another 5-star game. I think this could be a shootout. I think Matt Ryan and Eli Manning are both going to have big games, but I just think Eli Manning is going to have just enough to outlast Matt Ryan. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a chance for the Giants to win it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to a field goal at the end, to be honest. But I really don't know at this point. But I think Eli Manning's going to have a big game. Maybe we'll see Donnell go off again. You never know. The running game, maybe that'll get going. And, Victor Cruz, Ruben Randall, maybe we'll see a sighting of those two. And then maybe the defense, we'll see. I do think Matt Ryan will go off again. Maybe we'll see Julio Jones, Roddy White, Harry Douglas. The running game with Jackson, Steven Jackson, and Jacquizz Rodgers. So I think this is going to be another offensive-minded game. But final score in this one, I'm going to go with the New York Giants in this one, 35-31. New York wins this game behind Eli Manning. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on the Falcons and the Giants?
Yeah, the Giants. I mean, they've been playing very well as of late. I mean, especially after that 0-2 start. They won their last 2, and Falcons. I mean, they haven't played well. They haven't been very impressive. They haven't been very impressive as of late. So yeah, so this got the potential to be a 5-star classic as well. So yeah, so we're just gonna have to wait and see on that. And so to me, I'm gonna go with the I'm with you, Florio. I'm going with the Giants as well. I mean, they've been on. I mean, and I'm gonna go 37-31 in this one. Eli Manning, I think he's gonna have a good game, and he's been playing very well as of late. And last week, he basically threw for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards in that beatdown of the Redskins. And yeah, and the other guy I've been very impressed with is Rashad Jennings, the running back for them. So yeah, and of course the Falcons, they're battling some injuries, so that could that could also help the Giants too. So give me the G-men to win this one, 37-31. With that being said, Mario, let's move on to the next game.
And you're going to be leading off on that next game, Michael Bullock. It's going to be the St. Louis Rams against the Philadelphia Eagles from Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Let me see who's calling this one. It's going to be Kenny Albert, Daryl Moose Johnston, and Tony Saragusa. They're going to be calling this game for Fox. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on the Rams and the Eagles?
Yeah, this one's unfortunately going to be a mixed game, if I'm going to be quite honest here. And yeah, especially St. Louis 1 and 2, of course, they're not playing very well, especially in their quarterback situation. And of course, the Eagles coming off of their first loss of the season, of course, losing to the 49ers 26-21 in what I thought was a very good game. So to me, I mean, of course, yeah, of course. Well, for the Rams, they're going to be starting third string quarterback Austin Davis in this game. So yeah, when you start a third string quarterback, you got problems. So yeah, so to me, it's going to be easy. Eagles are going to win, and they're going to win big. Final score 48-17. Um, Nick Foles is going to go off. Sean Shee, McCoy is going to go off. I think you're going to see Macklin have a good game. And yeah, that defense is going to be all over Austin Davis and that Rams offense. So give me the Eagles in this one. With that being said, Mario, it's yours.
Yeah. I agree with everything you just said there, Michael Bullock. I mean, this is not going to be a pretty game indeed. Philly's a 6.5 to 7 point favorite in this one, and rightly so. I mean, Philly coming off that tough loss to San Francisco last week. In a very good game, definitely a five-star classic in my mind. And St. Louis coming off a bye, I do believe. Last time they played, of course, they gagged away a huge lead against the Dallas Cowboys at home. Um, but I will say this though, that Austin Davis kid has been very surprising to say the very least. He's been putting up some very good numbers. But if you're going up against a quarterback who is considerably better than you and Nick Foles, I think Foles will have a rebound game here, a bounce back game. I do agree with you on Macklin and McCoy and maybe Riley Cooper, maybe Zach Ertz. We'll have to wait and see. Jordan Matthews, I think he's going to get involved in the action too, in the defense with Trent Cole and everything else. So, yeah, I'm going with Philly in this one. Of course, Philly leads the all-time series, 18 games to 17 with a tie. The tie was in 1948 in Los Angeles, but Philly's won the last three meetings in this series, including the last one in Philadelphia in 2008. Philly won that one handily, 38-3. Last time St. Louis won in Philadelphia was in 2001. I remember that game very well. That was the opening week, as I recall, and that was a five-star classic. That was an overtime game. And later that year, they met in the NFC Championship game for the right to go to Super Bowl 36, but it was St. Louis who won that one as well. So, but that was back in the Kurt Warner days. Kurt Warner's not walking through that door. Marshall Faulk's not walking through that door. Torrey Holt's not walking through that door. Isaac Bruce, basically the greatest show on turf, they ain't walking through that door. Not anytime soon. So, with that said, give me Philadelphia. Give me Philadelphia big. Final score in this one, I'm going to say will be 41-10. Philadelphia rolls over St. Louis in a bounce back effort. But even with this loss, I still have Philadelphia in the power rankings. So that's all there is to say about that because they didn't lose too badly. So with that said, let's move on to our next matchup of Week 5 in the NFL. I do believe this is the final early game of Week 5 before we move on to our late games. It's going to be the Cleveland Browns going up against the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, not pretty, and I got to lead off on it. Oh, darn me, the luck of the draw. But yeah, lead off on it I will. Again, another old school rivalry. These two teams used to, battle it out in the old AFC Central. The old school Cleveland Browns and the Houston Oilers. Who could forget those games, huh? I mean, a lot of those games were five-star classics back in the day, but this one ain't going to be one of them. No way. No. Believe it or not, Tennessee is a 1 to 1.5 point favorite. Yeah, okay. You're going to say Tennessee's a 1 to 1.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, they had that convincing win against Kansas City. I can understand that. But what have they done for us lately since? They get blown out by Dallas at home. And then, on top of that, they get blown out by Cincinnati on the road. And then they go on the road in Indianapolis, and they get blown out. Their last three weeks, they've been losing and losing badly. I think this is one of those rare times where we're actually going to have to pick the Cleveland Browns in this one. I got to go with Cleveland here. But before I do that, let's get into the necessities of this one. This will be in Tennessee. This will be at LP Field in Nashville. But let me see who's calling this game. Andrew Catalon, Steve Berline, and Steve Tasker. They're going to have the call on CBS. Series history favors Cleveland, 33 games to 28. Tennessee, though, has won the last two meetings. Last meeting was in 2011. Tennessee won 31-13. That game was in Cleveland. Last game in Tennessee was a 28-9 Tennessee win in 2008. Last time Cleveland won in Tennessee was in 2002. That was a 31-28 overtime win. That was a five-star classic. Both of those teams were actually good that year. You remember that was the William Green and Tim Couch Cleveland team going up against the late great Steve McNair, God rest his soul, Eddie George, and when those Titan teams were watched back in the day. But I'm going to go with Cleveland here. I think Brian Hoyer is going to have a good game. I think, yeah, I definitely have to go with Brian Hoyer here because Tennessee has just stuck up the joint as of late. I cannot in good conscience go with them. I think Locker's going to have another bad game, and they're going to get contained by the Cleveland defense. And Cleveland, they're 1-2, but they just had a couple of tough losses. I mean, one to the Baltimore Ravens, and then of course that other loss to Pittsburgh, where they nearly came back from like 20 down to win. But I got to go with the Browns here. I mean, that's all I can say about it. I'm just going to say Cleveland wins this one. I'm going to say final here will be. I'm going to go. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring of a game. I'm going to say 17-14. The Cleveland Browns beat the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee in what I think is the number 2 Zonk game of the week, only behind Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. So 17-14, Cleveland wins. An upset on that. Michael Bullock, your thoughts on Cleveland and Tennessee?
Yeah, this one's not going to be a game that not a lot of people are going to be interested in. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go with the Cleveland Browns in this one because I just don't believe in Tennessee. They've been struggling as of late, and yeah, you've got Jake Locker coming back, but yeah, I just don't believe in him, and this just gives me a reason why I should go with Cleveland. It's gonna be I'm gonna go 20-17 in this one. I think Hoyer's gonna have a good game, and yeah, so pretty much touched on everything else. So yeah, so with that being said, let's move on to the 4 o'clock games.
Move on to the 4 o'clock games, we will, and what a 4 o'clock game this is going to be. It's going to be the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Denver Broncos. Our favorite team on Fox, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, they're going to have the call of this game for Fox. So this game's in Denver. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on this one, Arizona and Denver?
All right, yeah, of course, Denver is coming off of a bye, and yeah, of course, Arizona, so let's just say they're coming off of a bye too, so, but unfortunately, Drew Stanton's going to be the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. No Carson Palmer once again, so even though I like Arizona and their 3-0 start, I got to go with the Denver Broncos in this one because they lost a 5-star classic to the Seattle Seahawks, and and I'm going to tell you this right now, Denver's coming to play in this one. They're coming to play, and yeah, so I think the final score for me, I think it's going to be 48-21. Denver goes all over Arizona. Peyton's going to go off. Thomas is going to go off. Welker's going to go off. I think you're going to see that defense, of course, led by DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, and all that to basically be all over Drew Stanton. So give me the Denver Broncos in this one. Now, if Carson Palmer was playing, then I would say that this would be a close game. But because Stanton's starting, I think this one's not even going to be close. So give me Denver in this one. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, Arizona 3-0, coming off a bye. Last time they played, they beat the San Francisco 49ers at home. Of course, the Denver Broncos coming off a bye of their own, losing, of course, that 5-star Super Bowl rematch to the Seattle Seahawks. And where I just keep asking the question, why couldn't we have had that particular matchup in the Super Bowl? That was a hell of a lot better game. But anyways, Denver's a pretty sizable favorite in this one. They're a 7.5-point favorite according to my spread here. Yeah, 7.5-point favorite are Denver. They're at home, where I can't remember the last time they lost a home game. It's been so long. But Michael Bullock's absolutely correct on this one. It should be Denver, and here's the reason why. You want to know what the series history between these two teams is? Listen to this. Denver leads this series 7-1 with one tie. The tie was their very first meeting in 1973, and the only time Arizona won was actually their last meeting. That was in Arizona in 2010. Arizona Holiday Hammed them 43-13 at University of Phoenix Stadium. Last time they met in Denver was in 2002. Denver won that one going away 37-7. I think Zona might give them some fits here, but let's face it. Who would you rather have if you had a fantasy team and you had a choice between two quarterbacks, and those two choices were Drew Stanton or Peyton Manning? Who would you rather have? Let me think about that. Oh yeah, Peyton Manning. And oh, by the way, I'm sure, I think you know this, but like Peyton Manning's my fantasy quarterback, and he has been paying immediate dividends for my team. And oh, by the way, I lead the league. I'm first place in our Strictly Sports Fantasy Football League. I'm at the top, baby. Number one. For right now, anyways. I'm going up against, one of our super fans in Kevin Woodson. I'll get into that later, but wow. Peyton Manning, fantasy stud. Drew Stanton, not so much. And I do agree with you both. If Carson Palmer was playing, I think it would be a little bit closer, but Peyton Manning or Drew Stanton? Give me Peyton Manning. 6'5", 230-pound quarterback, laser rocket arm. You know the shtick. He's going to have a huge game. Demaryius Thomas, big game. Julius Thomas, big game. Maybe we'll get a Wes Welker sighting. I know Bullock would love that, considering that's his old buddy. Maybe the running game with Monty Ball. Maybe. And, of course, that awesome defense with Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Terrence Pot Roast Knighton. I think they're going to fluster and frustrate Drew Stanton. I think they're going to shut down that receiving core of Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd and everything else. So I got to go with Denver in this one. I'm going to say final score for me, I'm going to say 34-17. Denver beats Arizona at Sports Authority Field in Mile High. So back on track for Denver. That's all I can say on that. So with that said, let's move on to our next late matchup. This will be on CBS. It's going to be, let me see, the New York Jets going up against the San Diego Chargers. Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Evan Washburn, they're going to have the call for CBS. I'm going to lead off on this one. Chargers, 6.5 to 7-point favorites. I mean, New York Jets, let's face it, the New York Jets are horrible. They are horrible. I'm sorry to say it. I mean, they almost lose to the Raiders at home, but they somehow won that game. That was a game that they actually should have won. But then they choke against Green Bay. They lose. And then they lose to, and then, of course, last week I know they lost again. They've lost 3 games in a row at the Jets. I mean, they're a disaster right now. Then they lose to Chicago on the Monday night, and then they lose at home to Detroit. Good Lord, they're terrible. You know how bad they are? They're so bad that their fans are actually chanting, "We want Vic. We want Vic," as in they want Michael Vick. I think they're sick and tired of Geno Smith because he's a turnover machine. Let's not kid ourselves. The sooner you get Michael Vick in there, I think it's the better. But it doesn't matter who's starting, whether it's Geno Smith or Michael Vick. You're playing, to me, the number 2 team in the NFL right now. I think I just gave away where I have this team in the power rankings. But anyways, San Diego. What can we say about them? I mean, they had that tough loss to Arizona, and then they had that big win against Seattle, and then easy win against Buffalo, easy win against Jacksonville. Phillip Rivers is a beast. That's all I can say. Phillip Rivers is my backup quarterback. He's my backup to Peyton Manning on my fantasy team, my New York Fortune fantasy. The first place New York Fortune, oh, by the way. So I think he's going to go off. Not sure about whether Ryan Matthews will be playing or not, because I know he's been out with injury for the last couple of weeks. Oh, yeah. Rex Ryan, enough said. He's the most overhyped, overrated coach in the NFL today, bar none. And 100% agree with that statement you just made there, Bullock. I 100% agree with that. Phillip Rivers, big game. Keenan Allen, big game. Hopefully Antonio Gates can do some things as well. Eddie Royal. The defense, they are going to absolutely fluster. It doesn't matter whether it's Geno Smith or Michael Vick. I think they're going to shut down that running game with Chris Ivory. Receiving core, they're going to be non-existent. Decker and them, no way. This is another one of the locks of the week. Give me the San Diego Chargers at home. Final score, 38-13. Charge. No, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this right. 38-13 to the San Diego Superchargers. Enough said on that. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Oh, how we love to say the San Diego
Yeah.
Superchargers. Yeah. And of course, well, to me, no one does it better than, of course, Chris Berman and Tom Jackson when they do the highlights. Well, when they used to do it on NFL Primetime, of course, now it's just the Blitz on ESPN Sports Center. So, yeah, as far as this game goes, yeah, definite lock of the week. Yeah, I mean, you heard during that game the Jets fans were saying, "We want this, we want this," but I mean, you know, Rex Bryant's ego. He's not going to make the switch. I mean, he kept saying, I mean, he still believes in Geno Smith. I mean, remember, he kept sticking with Mark Sanchez even when he was struggling, and of course, we all know how much of a Mark Sanchez lover he was when he was with them. And I'll even make a statement that Rex Bryant's ego is so big, not even a big U-Haul truck can hold his ego. That's how big it is. So, yeah, nothing else to say except San Diego Chargers, they're going to win. They're going to win big. I've been very impressed with them, and it's another team to keep an eye out for. That could definitely make the playoffs. So, I mean, I love how Phillip Rivers has been playing, and yeah, so 31-10, I think is going to be the final. Rivers is going to go off. Keenan Allen's going to go off. Malcolm Floyd's going to go off. That defense is going to be all over Geno Smith and the Jets. So give me the San Diego Chargers in this one. So that being said, Mario, let's move on to the last of our 4 o'clock games.
And before I do that, I forgot to mention the series history, and I also want to make one other statement real quick. Unfortunately, Mr. Bullock, we're going to have to sit through this game because it's going to be on Channel 12, unfortunately. We're going to have to sit through this nonsense. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, major hard times indeed. No, indeed. But it comes with the territory. And I also forgot to mention the series history. 20 games to 12 in favor of San Diego. San Diego won the last meeting. That was in New York in 2012. Last meeting in San Diego was in 2008. San Diego won that one big, 48-29. Jets last one in San Diego in 2004. That was in the regular season. So yeah, it's going to be San Diego, no doubt about it. All right, Michael Bullock, you're gonna get to lead off on this one. This is going to be a very good matchup. This is the game I wish we were getting on our end. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the San Francisco 49ers at the beautiful new Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, the suburb of San Francisco. And our favorite announced team on CBS, Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson, they're going to be on the call for this one. So, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on Chiefs and Niners?
Now, this is the game that we should have gotten instead of the Chargers Jets game, because now this has got a chance to be something really good here. Of course, especially when you got our favorite announcers, Jim Nantz and Phil Simms, doing the game. Of course, Kansas City coming off of a beatdown of the New England Patriots on Monday night, 41-14, and of course, as I mentioned, San Francisco coming off a 26-21 win over the Philadelphia Eagles. So, man, this is a tough one to call here. And of course, the other big story, Alex Smith makes his return to San Francisco. And of course, he was the starting quarterback at the time when Jim Harbaugh was in his first year, and of course, as the 49ers coach, and that was the year when the 49ers went to that NFC Championship game, and of course, losing to the Giants in what I thought was a 5-star classic game. So it's a tough one to call, but you know what? In the end, I gotta go with the San Francisco 49ers in this one. It's gonna be close, but I just like them at home here in this one. So I think you're gonna see Kaepernick. I think he's gonna have a good game. I think you're gonna see. Let me see. Yeah. I think you're gonna see Vernon Davis if he does play. I think he'll have a good game. You're gonna see Frank Gore have a good game. Bolden, he'll have a good game. But But yeah, I think Alex Smith and the rest of that offense, with the way they play, they're going to give them some fits on the defensive side of the ball. But I just think the 49ers will make one more big play than the Chiefs would. So give me San Fran in this one. With that being said, Florio, it's yours.
Once again, I agree with everything you just said there, Bullock. I mean, this should have been the game we should have gotten on our end. The only way we're going to get it is if the Jets and Chargers game is so uncompetitive that they decide to switch it over, which they can do because they have the doubleheader and they are allowed within the rules to do that. So let's hope that's the case because this is going to be a
Or
great
if we
game.
had direct TV
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
with a
that's true
Sunday
too.
ticket.
Yep, absolutely. But anyways, getting into this, San Francisco, the favorite. They're a 5 to 6 point favorite in this one, and this is a tough one to call because Kansas City. They started 0-2. They had that horrific loss to Tennessee in Week 1, then that tough loss to Denver. But the last 2 weeks, I mean, very impressive to say the very least. Victories over Fletcher's Miami Dolphins, and then of course that disaster on Monday night against Derek and Bullock's New England Patriots. I mean, that was not fun to watch indeed. Um, Very impressed to say the very least. In San Francisco, they had that great opening win against Dallas, and then, they self-destructed against Chicago, and then they lose to Arizona and Drew Stanton, and then they get a humongous win against Philadelphia last week. San Francisco leads the series 6 games to 5. However, Kansas City's won the last 2 meetings, but those games were in Kansas City. Last time in San Francisco was in 2002. San Francisco won that 17-13. And believe it or not, Michael Bullock, the Kansas City Chiefs have only won in San Francisco one time, and it was their very first meeting all time, 1971. That's the only time the Kansas City Chiefs went into San Francisco and beat the 49ers. Final score there was 26-17. Um, but that was back in the good old days when they had Len Dawson and then. But oh man, but very tough to call. And get this, it's going to be the battle of the quarterbacks. I mean, Alex Smith returning to San Francisco for the first time, since Colin Kaepernick, took over for him. Alex Smith got injured in 2012, and Colin Kaepernick came in and just completely changed that franchise around. That year they went on to the Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens. Again, that went from being a dud to a 5-star classic right before our very eyes, and came up a little bit short. But anyways, it is tough to call because both teams have been playing very well as of late. But at the end of the day, I got to go with the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, I think Colin Kaepernick's going to outplay Alex Smith. Frank Gore, I think he's going to have a big game. Anquan Bolden in the receiving game. I'm not sure about Vernon Davis. I know Vernon Davis got a little banged up last week, and we'll see. But I do think Alex Smith will have a big game as well. Jamal Charles. Maybe we'll see some Niall Davis, who's been playing very well as of late in his absence. Defenses are both going to play big, but at the end of the day, I got to go with San Fran in this one. I'm going to say 24-21. San Francisco beats Kansas City at Levi's Stadium in what should be a very good game to say the very least. So, with that said, Sunday Night Football coming up. The Cincinnati Bengals against the New England Patriots. This will be on NBC. You know what that means. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. They're going to be on the call for this game, and I'm going to lead this one off. Michael Bullock, what happened to your Patriots last week, man? I got to ask you, what the hell was that?
They stuck up the joint big time.
Are you sure that's the same team that at one point won 3 Super Bowls in a 4-year stretch? Are you sure that's the same team that has been the class of the AFC for friggin' the better part of a decade? And are you sure that's the team that, instead of having 3 Super Bowls, could have had at least 4 or 5? Oh, Malone, dude. I mean, in all my years of watching New England Patriots games, I got to say that was the single worst performance I have ever seen by a New England Patriots team. And I'm going to say it was even worse than when my Buffalo Bills whooped your Patriots 31-0 Week 1 in 2003. I mean, that was horrible. I mean, Patriots Nation was definitely feeling like another one of our favorite memes. They were feeling like angry Jim Ross. That's what they were feeling like. They were like, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves after a performance like that. My goodness. But and I felt bad for you guys. But let's look at New England. I mean, they lose to Miami, and then they get those big wins against Minnesota, and then barely getting by Oakland, and then they get holiday hand by KC. I mean, horrible, man. And then, but Cincinnati, the best team I think they're the best team right now, the best team in the power rankings, no question about that. And boy, this is a tough one to call. I'm going to be honest with you. Um, we know New England is always good, when it comes to rebounding after a loss. I mean, it's been a long, long time since they've lost 2 games in a row. I can't remember the last time they did that. But two spreads have this as a pick'em game, but the other spreads favor Cincinnati. But it's only by 1 to 1.5, though. It's not that bad. But series history, New England leads it 14 games to 9. Last meeting, of course, was last year. Cincinnati won that game 13-6, a very sloppy game to say the very least. And that win by Cincinnati snapped New England's 4-game winning streak in the series. Last time Cincinnati won in Foxborough, we got to go all the way back to 1986. That's the last time the Bengals left Foxborough with a victory. They won that game 31-7. And I do believe, yes, that is the last time Cincinnati won in Foxborough. They haven't won in Foxborough since. But it's very tough to call. I mean, Cincinnati's the better team right now, obviously. I mean, Andy Dalton has been absolutely out of his mind. They're off a bye. They had that big win in Baltimore, first time since 09. They went into Baltimore and won. And then easy wins against Atlanta and Tennessee. And, yeah, what can we say? I mean, but I do know this. Dalton's going to have a big game. I think A.J. Green's going to have a big game. Giovanni Bernard, I think he's going to have a big game. I think the defense is going to do well. And then on the other side, Tom Brady. I do think he'll have a solid game. Maybe we'll see some Julian Edelman, some Rob Gronkowski, Danny Amendola, maybe the running game with Vereen and Ridley. But at the end of the day, this is a very tough game to call. But I want to say New England wins because of how they usually do after bye weeks. I mean, or usually after losses. But after what I've been seeing from them as of late and what I've been seeing from Cincinnati, I'm sorry, Michael Bullock. I cannot in good conscience go with your team to win this game. I got to go with the Cincinnati Bengals in this one. Would I be surprised if New England won? No, I would not. But with the way the Bengals have been playing as of late, I have to go with Cincinnati in this one. I do think it'll be close, though. I'm going to say the final score in this one, I'm going to go, let's see. I'm going to say 30-27. The Cincinnati Bengals steal one in Foxborough on Sunday night behind Andy Dalton, A.J. Green, Mohamed Sanu, the running game with Bernard, and I think the defense and the kicking with Mike Nugent at the end. I do think it might come down to him. You never know. So 30-27, Cincinnati beats New England on Sunday Night Football. That's the way I feel. So with that said, let's go now to our resident New England Patriots insider and superfan, Michael Bullock. Your thoughts on the big one?
Yeah, Monday night was one of the worst performances I have seen from a New England Patriots team in a long time. I mean, both sides of the ball, offense, defense, they just played horrible. And I mean, the issue with the offense to me is not just the receivers, but the offensive line has just been horrible. I mean, that's the reason why all the defenses have been able to get to Tom Brady, because the offensive line has just been playing horrible. They need to fix things up if they want to have a chance in this game and to protect Tom Brady. But as a Patriots fan, I want them to win this game. But as a professional, I hate to say this, but I got to go with the Cincinnati Bengals in this point. I think the final is going to be 30-27 in this one. Yeah, how'd that Logan Mankins trade work out? Not so good. So, yeah, Dalton and Green are going to go off. Sanu, and of course, the Bernard's going to go off. So, yeah, there's really nothing else to say. Just give me the Bengals in this one. So, that being said, Oreo, let's wrap up the game with Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks against the Washington Redskins. Mike Tirico, John Gruden, Lisa Salters. They're going to be on the call for this one. FedEx Field in Washington, D.C. That's the location. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on Monday night, Seahawks and Redskins?
All right. Well, unfortunately, this one here is not going to be another good Monday night football game because I mean Washington comes in 1-3, Seattle's coming off of a bye, 2-1, and of course they came off of course a five-star classic win over the Denver Broncos. So yeah, and of course got a battle. Of course the top quarterbacks that were drafted in the NFL draft, and Russell Wilson and RG3. So so with that being said, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks to win this one. I think the final's going to be. I think the final's going to be 31-7 in this one. I think you're going to see Russell Wilson have a good game. Marshawn Lynch, he's going to go beast mode, and of course, yeah, and of course for the Redskins, I think Alfred Morris. I think he's going to have a little bit of a good game, but yeah, you think it's going to be enough to slow down that defense of the Seahawks, of course, led by Richard Sherman and yeah, and the rest of that defense. So yeah, so give me the Seahawks, and this is not even going to be close. So with that being said, Florio, it's yours.
And I have another breaking news story from the world of college football. Guess what? Another upset. UCLA has just lost to Utah. Utah has gone into the Rose Bowl and has beaten UCLA. 30-28 is the final.
What?
That's exactly what I'm saying, man.
Oh my goodness.
This is the greatest college football Saturday of all time. I don't give a crap what anybody says. I mean, unfreaking real. I mean, I just found this on Derek Ferrera's Facebook page, and I wanted to check the scores for myself, and yes, it is indeed a final. Utah 30, UCLA 28. That's not a misprint, folks. That is reality. UCLA has lost to Utah at home. Wow. Did I mention we're going to have the biggest shakeup in Power Rankings history in the history of our show on Friday night? Okay, I just wanted to be sure on that. Okay, so, all right. Moving on anyway. I mean, how am I going to follow that? Well, Seattle and Washington. Seattle 7-8 point favorites. Seattle coming off a bye, of course, winning that huge game against Denver. Washington. Ugh, wow. Thursday night obliteration against the Giants. I mean, they just didn't show up in that game at all. But 11 games to 4. However, Washington leads the all-time series. Last meeting was in 2011 in Seattle. Washington won that 23-17. Last game in Washington was in 2005. The Redskins won that in overtime. Seahawks last won a regular season game in Washington back in 1995. That was a 27-20 win. Well, I think that's gonna change because I got Seattle winning this one. I think Russell Wilson's gonna have a big game. Marshawn Lynch, Percy Harvin. I think the defense, Richard Sherman, and them. I think they're gonna have a big game as well. Don't really think Kirk Cousins is gonna do much. I think he'll have an okay game, but not really all those great games he was having lately. I think Morris is gonna get shut down, and the receiving core with Deshaun Jackson. I don't know about that. So I'm gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks in this one. I'm going to say final here will be 35-24. Seattle goes into Washington and beats the Redskins on Monday night. So with that said, it's now time for our power rankings. I'm going to start it off. Start it off with my number 10. I got to go with the San Francisco 49ers to start it off. I mean, got a humongous win against the Philadelphia Eagles, 26-21. Colin Kaepernick had a huge game, and the defense really stepped up for the 49ers at a time when they really needed it most. I mean, that was a must-win game for the 49ers last week, and they got it done. I mean, if they had lost that game, they would have been in big trouble. That's all I can say about that. But they got it done nonetheless. Let's see. They put up 407 yards of offense, held Philly to 213 yards of offense. They forced 4 Philadelphia turnovers. They sacked Nick Foles once. Kaepernick had 218 yards, 2 TDs and a pick. Frank Gore 119 yards rushing, and Anquan, and then the Frank Gore had a receiving touchdown along with Stevie Johnson, my old buddy from Buffalo, And on the defense, it was Ian Williams who had the sack of Nick Foles. They go up against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. It's going to be a tough game, but I ultimately see them pulling it out. So I know Philly should really be in there, but I don't know if I can make room for them. I really don't know because this is a tough power rankings. I mean, a shake-up written one indeed. So number 10, San Francisco 49ers. So that's it. Michael Volke, number 10.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers as my number 10. So, yeah, I mean, you pretty much touched on everything on them. So with that being said, I say we just move on to number 9.
Do you have your number 9, Michael Bullock, or no?
Oh yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah, my number 9. I know you said you don't have room for the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, to me, I think this is where I'm going to put them as my number 9. I mean, yeah, they're coming off of like you said, coming off that huge win against. Well, unfortunately, like you said, came off of a loss to them. But to me, I think they're still good enough to be in here. But I will tell you this right now: they lose this game to the St. Louis Rams, they'll definitely be out come next week. Of course, I think you're going to see, like I said, Foles and Sean Shane McCoy go off and help lead the Eagles to a win over the St. Louis Rams. So Philadelphia Eagles are my number 9. So Oreo, you're number 9.
You know what, Michael Bullock? I'm going to agree with you on this one. I am going to go with Philadelphia. They are the number 9 team. I can definitely make a case for them being in there. I mean, I just said I wasn't sure, but you convinced me. But even though they lost, I mean, they're still 3-1. The record's still there. That's why they're still in. And they didn't lose too badly. They only lost by 5. But they did commit 4 turnovers, and I didn't, and I also missed one key stat from that Niner game against the Eagles. Time of possession. Philly only had the ball for 17 minutes and 43 seconds. San Fran had it for 42 minutes and 17 seconds. What does that tell you? They did, however, sack Colin Kaepernick 4 times. I mean, at least they had that, and they forced a turnover. Nick Foles, he was human. He had only threw for 195 yards and 2 picks. Running game was non-existent. LaShawn McCoy only had 17 yards rushing, and they did have, and then the receiving corps was non-existent either. But it was pretty much defense and special teams. That's the only reason why they were even in that game. Connor Barwin, Brandon Graham, Vinnie Curry all had 1 sack apiece, and Casey Matthews and Trent Cole had half a sack apiece. So they go up against the St. Louis Rams on Sunday. That's a winnable game. Hopefully they can get back on track. So I do agree with you, Michael Bullock. Number 9 is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. So with that said, let's move on to number 8. Let me see who I have here at number 8. Okay, I got it. My number 8 is the Green Bay Packers. Got to go with Green Bay here at number 8. They're back in the power rankings. They had that tough loss to Detroit, that bad loss to Detroit a couple weeks ago. That's why we kicked them out last week. But, oh boy, did they rebound. They rebounded in a big, big, big way. Knocking off their most hated rivals, the Chicago Bears, winning that game 38-17 and at Soldier Field. I'm sure they'll get. I mean, we'll see where they land next week after their obliteration of Minnesota. We'll break that down next week. But we're gonna break down the Chicago game. Winning that one 38-17. Let's see. They put up 358 yards of offense, but they did allow Chicago to get 496 yards of offense. But they forced 2 turnovers. They sacked Jay Cutler once, but it wasn't about the D. It was about the offense. Aaron Rodgers, the American hero, he damn sure played like one. 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Eddie Lacy, a rushing touchdown. Randall Cobb, my guy, 113 yards, 2 TDs. Jordy Nelson, 108 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. And on the defense, it was Dayton Jones who had the sack of Jay Cutler in the win. They go up against the they already played this week, and they absolutely holiday hammed the Minnesota Vikings on Thursday Night Football. What else is new? Because those Thursday night games have been terrible, and that's why they have got to go, with the exception of Thanksgiving. Only on Thanksgiving. That's the only Thursday I will allow an NFL game to be on. But other than that, no more Thursday Night Football. They have got to go. Tired of these third enhancement games. But I do think the one coming up in Indy and Houston, that's got potential to maybe break the streak and hopefully stop the bleeding, if you know what I mean. So we'll get into that next week. But anyways, number 8, Green Bay Packers. Michael Bullock, your number 8.
Yes, my number 8 is the Green Bay Packers as well. So, yeah, I mean, you pretty much touched on everything on them. So, with that being said, let's move on to number 7. And I think you should take this one for it because I'm not quite ready with my number 7.
All right, no problem. Started off with my number 7. A little bit tough, to be quite honest, but my number 7 here. Let me see who I have here. Let me see. Bear with me a moment. I just want to make sure I have it right. Number 7 for me. I mean, this was a little bit tough to call, but I mean, based on the body of work and everything else, I had this team at number 7 last week, and I'm gonna keep them there. It's gonna be the Detroit Lions at number 7. I mean, because they didn't overly convincingly beat the Jets last week. I mean, they just barely got by them, as I recall. Checking. I just want to check the score on that. Yeah, I mean, they just barely got by the Jets last week. I mean, yes, they won, but I was kind of hoping they would have done it a little more decisively, but they didn't. So, 360 yards of offense, they forced 2 Jet turnovers. They sacked Geno Smith twice, but Matthew Stafford was sacked 4 times. Stafford had 293 yards, 2 TDs, no picks, and Stafford also had a rushing touchdown. Golden Tate, 116 yards receiving. Jeremy Ross and Eric Ebron had the touchdowns for Detroit, and James Idedebo had one of the sacks, and Nick Fairley had the other one. So I kind of want to see a little bit more coming up against Buffalo on Sunday. So I don't know if they should be higher. I'm sure in most people's minds they probably should be, but I'm sorry if you just barely beat the Jets, a game you should have won a little more decisively. I can't in good conscience move you up. So my number 7 is the Detroit Lions. So that's it, Michael Volke, number 7.
Yeah, I gotta go with Detroit here as my number 7. I mean, you basically mentioned it. I mean, the reason why they're here at number 7, and I know some people think they should be higher, because they barely got past the New York Jets. So, yeah, so I definitely need to see more from this team before I can put them higher. So, yeah, so nothing else to say except Lions are my number 6. So, I mean, not number 6, number 7. So that means that now let's move on to number 6. Little botch on my part.
No, that's all right. Make it short and sweet. My number 6. It's the same team I had at number 6 last week. The Denver Broncos, only because they were on bye. So they go up against Arizona this week. I think they can win that. So there's really nothing left to say except Denver Broncos, my number 6 because of the bye week rule. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your number 6.
Yep, number 6, Denver Broncos. Like you said, because of the bye week, we can't punish them. We can't move them up. So yeah, nothing else to say except Denver Broncos, my number 6. So that being said, let's go to the top 5.
Do you have your number 5, or do you need me to take this one?
All right. My number 5. Oh boy, this one's tough here, boys. Oh, this one's tough here for you. So I'll tell you that right now. So
I can take it if you want.
Yeah, you can take it. I mean, this is a tough one.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling. Not tough for me. It's because I have a tie at number 5. My tie at number 5. Actually, I actually made a little botch. The Houston Texans. I should have mentioned them. Houston. I should have had. I really should have had Houston a little bit lower. I should have had them right around 10 or 9. I should have had them in there because of their win against the Buffalo Bills. But it wasn't a convincing win. But no, you know what? I think I just might put them in the top 5 anyway because of their body of work. I mean, but I'll have to think about that. But the team I really had at number 5 was the Seattle Seahawks. Bye week rule. What else is there to say? I mean, that's where I had them last week, as you know. So your reigning and defending Super Bowl champions, Seattle Seahawks, should have been at number 5. I mean, they're at number 5 this week. I mean, that's a no-brainer there. But I should have had Houston a little bit lower. I should have mentioned them now that I think about it, because they barely got by my Buffalo Bills last week. I mean, barely. I mean, they had to come from behind to beat them. A game that I kind of think they should have won a little more decisively as well. I think I should have had them in the last spot, to be quite honest with you. But Houston put up 301 yards. They committed 3 turnovers. Fitzpatrick was sacked 3 times. But they forced 2 Buffalo turnovers, sacked E.J. Manuel twice, and of course J.J. Watt had the interception return that changed the complexion of the game. Fitzpatrick, 268 yards, a TD, and 2 picks. Running game was non-existent. Andre Johnson, 71 yards. DeAndre Hopkins had a receiving touchdown. And on the defense, it was Tim Jamison with a half a sack and Jared Crick with 1.5 sacks. So Houston, I think, should have been in the last spot. Actually, I should have had them at number 7 with the Detroit Lions. So I think that's what I mean. I had a Bottomania on my part. Tie at number 7, Detroit Lions and Houston Texans, to be honest with you. But number 5, it's a no clear-cut, no-brainer at number 5. It is the Seattle Seahawks because of the bye week rule. So Seattle number 5, Michael Bullock, number 5. Now that I thought it was straightened out.
Yeah, my number 5 is the Seattle Seahawks. So yeah, so really nothing else to say except let's move on to number 4.
All right. And once again, to clear it up, Detroit and Houston, co-number 7s. That's all I can say about that. That's how I should have had them. All right, so moving on to number 4. I have a tie at number 4, and this is the last tie. The Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs are my co-number 4s this week. I mean, what can you say about the Baltimore Ravens? I mean, the body of work has been just very, very impressive. Just amazing. And Baltimore and KC, they're at my number 4, to say the very least. Starting with the Ravens, just absolutely obliterated the Carolina Panthers 38-10 last week. And let me see. Just bear with me a moment. Okay, 454 yards of offense, forced a turnover. They had 2 sacks of Cam Newton. Joe Flacco, 327 yards, 3 TDs. Forsett and Taliaferro had rushing touchdowns, but the star of the game was Steve Smith, 139 yards and 2 TDs. Torrey Smith also had a receiving touchdown, and it was Elvis Dumerville, 1.5 sacks, and Terrell Suggs, T-Sizzle with half a sack as well. Very impressive win for the Baltimore Ravens. So they're my first number 4, and yes, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're my other number 4. I mean, it's one thing when you holiday hand the Miami Dolphins in Miami, but after what they did to the New England Patriots last week, I mean, just absolutely wow. That's all I can say about that. Looking at the body of work here, 443 yards of offense, forced 3 New England turnovers. They sacked Tom Brady 3 times, and Alex Smith didn't really have to do much. Well, he had 248 yards and 3 TDs, absolutely outplayed Tom Brady. Niall Davis, 107 yards rushing. Jamal Charles, welcome back, a rushing touchdown with 92 yards. Had 2 receiving touchdowns as well. Travis Kelce also had a receiving touchdown. And on the sacks, it was Justin Houston with 2, and Mr. Bullock's favorite Chief, Tamba Hali, had a sack as well. So going up against the Niners, tough one to say the very least. Baltimore against Indy as well, same thing. So nothing left to say there except co-number 4s, Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs. Michael Bullock, you number 4.
Yeah, my co-number 4s are the Kansas City Chiefs, and who else did you have at number 4? I'm trying to remember. Who was it?
Kansas City Chiefs.
But who else you had besides them? Is what I'm saying.
It was Baltimore and Kansas City.
Oh, Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore. That's what I was trying to go for. Yeah, Baltimore and Kansas City are tied at number 4 for me as well. So, yeah, so nothing else to say except let's move on to the top three now.
Do you have your number three, Bullock, or do you need me to take this again?
All right, I'll you know what? I'll take this one.
All right.
Yeah. I'll say, actually, can you take this one? Top three is not too easy here.
Yeah, of course. That's not a problem. Surprise, surprise, it's another tie. But this is the last one, I promise you. First, number three, another bye week team, the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, I had them at number three. They're going to stay at number three because of the bye. And my other number three, based on the body of work, I have to go with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, I have just been so impressed with this team's body of work. I mean, yeah, it's come against the likes of Tennessee and Jacksonville, but still, the way they just holiday hammed them over the last 2 weeks, I mean, outscoring them 85-34 in those 2 games. I mean, we broke down. I mean, I didn't really get into we're not going to get into the Jacksonville game, but we're going to get into the Tennessee game. They put up 498 yards of offense, forced 3 Tennessee turnovers, sacked Jake Locker 3 times, Andrew Luck 393 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Trent Richardson had a rushing touchdown. Reggie Wayne, 119 yards and a touchdown. T.Y. Hilton had 105 yards receiving. Dwayne Allen, Kobe Fleener, Ahmad Bradshaw, they had the other receiving touchdowns. Vinatieri was perfect kicking the football. And Corey Redding, Dequel Jackson, and Zach Kerr had the sacks of Jake Locker. I mean, 85-34 in the last 2 weeks against Jacksonville and Tennessee. I mean, very impressive to say the very least. Now they have a back to reality game against the Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be a tough one to say the very least. So with that said, number threes, Arizona Cardinals only for the bye week, and the Indianapolis Colts based on their body of work of the last 2 weeks. So Michael Bullock, your number three.
Yeah, tied at number three for me. Like you said, Arizona Cardinals, Indianapolis Colts. So yeah, nothing else to say except let's move on to number two.
And I will take this one, number two, the San Diego Chargers. I mean, what can you say about this football team? I mean, they have just been absolutely unbelievable over the last few weeks. And easy win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had a little bit of a slow start, but still, I mean, just absolutely owned them in the second half. I mean, look at their numbers: 407 yards of offense. They forced 3 Jacksonville turnovers. They sacked Blake Bortles 3 times. Phillip Rivers, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns. Huge fantasy points for me because he is my backup quarterback, and Peyton Manning didn't play last week, so that was huge there. Rushing game was non-existent, but what else is new because Ryan Matthews is hurt. Keenan Allen, 135 yards receiving. Eddie Royal, 2 receiving touchdowns, 105 yards. Malcolm Floyd, a receiving touchdown of his own. Novak was perfect kicking the ball. And Ricardo Matthews, Cordero Law, and Jaleel Adai had the sacks of Bortles. And they have another easy game coming up against the New York Jets. And with a win here, they'll probably stay at number 2 most likely. But who knows? Maybe they could be number 1 if our number 1 team loses, which you never know, could happen. But we'll see. So, number 2, San Diego Chargers. Enough said. Bullock, you're number 2.
Yeah, number 2, San Diego Chargers. So nothing else to say except let's move on to number 1.
Who's your number 1, Bullock?
My number 1 is the Cincinnati Bengals. That's my number 1. At least that's what I think when it comes to that. So actually, you know what? I actually have a tie at number 1.
Okay.
Actually, I got a tie at number 1, and it's the Bengals. And you know what? This may come as a surprise to some people. I gotta go with the Dallas Cowboys as the team that's tied at number 1.
Wow. Major surprise.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, they blew out the New Orleans Saints. I mean, when was the last time you ever saw someone do that? I mean, it's because of that. I mean, I gotta put them in there. I mean, I know some people saying, "Oh, this team doesn't belong in here," but you know what? I've been very, very impressed with this Cowboys team, and you know what? if they continue to perform this well, I think they should stay at number one. But and of course the Bengals, of course, they're going up against New England, so yeah, so yeah, I mean, I got to tie at number one. Bengals and Cowboys. I know some people are going to disagree with me, Florio, judging by your or Florio. I know you're going to disagree with me,
No, I'm not.
but you know what? I'm just gonna. But that's just my opinion, and I'm going to stick with it. So Florio, it's yours.
You know what? I might have to go. I think I'm gonna have to take you up on that. I mean, well, obviously Cincinnati, of course, because hello, bye week. What else is new? Because when you have a bye week, you can't move up or down, regardless where you are. And you know what? I think we might have to put the Dallas Cowboys as the other number one. Absolutely. I mean, look what they did to the New Orleans Saints, for God's sakes. I mean, nobody expected them to do that. I mean, I know this is a bit of a stretch, and I know if Michael Fletcher and Derek Ferrer were here, they would be losing their minds right now. Trust me on that. But when you think about it, I mean, you beat a team. You not only beat a team, you handled them. You handled them like they were nothing. You beat them like they were a done enhancement team. They put up 445 yards of offense. They forced 3 turnovers. And on top of that, they sacked Drew Brees twice. And Tony Romo had 262 yards, 3 TDs, no interceptions. DeMarco Murray, 149 yards rushing, 2 scores. And on top of that, Terrence Williams had 2 receiving touchdowns, 77 yards, and Des Bryant had 1 as well. Dan Bailey, Kirk was perfect on the kicking side. I just want to be sure on that. Yes. And then Henry Melton and Jack Crawford had the sacks of Drew Brees. And, anytime you beat a team like the caliber of the New Orleans Saints. I mean, Michael Bolton makes a very good point, and I just remembered I should have had them in my power rankings as well. I mean, I don't think they should be number one. I think that's a bit of a reach, to be honest with you. I mean, now that I think about it, I think they definitely do deserve to be in the top 5. To be quite honest, I think they should be co-number 2s with the San Diego Chargers, as far as I'm concerned. Because I still need to see a little bit more from them. If they beat the Houston Texans, and if a couple of chips fall, where they may, like they did in college today, then maybe I'll put Dallas at number 1. But to be honest, I think they should be just a little bit lower, not a whole lot. I do think they should be in the top 5, though. I do agree with you on that, Poet, because of how they beat the New Orleans Saints. Just don't think they should be number 1, though. So, while I do applaud you for your bold sentiment there, I mean, bold to say the very least, and you're lucky it's just me here, because if Derek Ferrer and Michael Fletcher were here, they'd be.
I would have been crucified.
Yeah, you would have had a hardcore pipe bomb cerebral viper rant coming your way, no doubt about it. But because it's me, because it's your fellow Yes Movement brother, you got nothing to worry about, man. I mean, I applaud you for that. That's a bold sentiment, but for me, I can't in good conscience really put Dallas at number 1. They do deserve to be in the top 5, however, I do agree with you on that. So for me, my sole number 1, only because of the bye week, is the Cincinnati Bengals. So with that said, that's going to put the bow on this edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday. We thank you so very much for tuning in. So with that said, Michael Bullock, let's get to your shout-outs, and then I'll set the table for future content.
All right. Special shout-outs to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to support our shows, whether it is Strictly Sports or the Wrestling Forum. Doesn't matter. We really appreciate it. We thank you all so very much for joining us here on this Saturday night here. So let's get to our shout-outs. Like I said, shout-out to all of our fans here, and of course, shout-out to our super fans, Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonbaugh. Shout-out to our friends from our high school days, Al Brederson, Jimmy Allman, Rob Parsons, Eric Carrier, Tom Souza, First Lady of Strictly Sports, Kaiser Butler, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Megan Silva. And of course, shout-out to Michael Fletcher. Couldn't be with us tonight because of work commitments, and of course, he had to work a late night. So, and of course, shout-out to our pipe on Derek Ferreira. Couldn't be with us because he went to a WWE house show in Providence tonight. So, and if you do check on Facebook, he does give the results of the house show. So, yeah. So, get a shout out to our personalities. Of course, shout out to Frank Arpano and Joe Chiara from NBC 10, Ken Bell from ABC 6, Mark Dondero, Yanni Caracas, and Patrick Little from Channel 12. Of course, Jenny Dell of CBS, and of course, shout out to two of my favorite girls from Fox Sports 1, Erin Andrews and Carissa Thompson. Shout out to my favorite girls from ESPN, Jay McCarthy, Sarah Walsh, Lindsay Zarniak, Hannah Storm, and of course, shout outs to of course our friends from the Road Show. Of course, starting off with the former co-host Mary Larson and Megan Mooney, and of course, shout outs to the three current people, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson, and of course, finally, shout outs, of course, to our two favorites here at Strictly Sports, Theta Sorrell and Lindsay McCormick. So yeah, so that's pretty much gonna do it for me. So until Monday night for the Wrestling Forum, this is the Phenom and the Vice President of the Rhode Island chapter of the Yes Movement, Mike Foley, saying thank you all very much for listening to us tonight. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up 44 style. Have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the NFL Sunday. That being said, Oreo, take us home and set the table for Monday night.
Will do indeed, Bullock. Of course, we want to thank you all so very much for tuning in tonight on this late edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday. We would have started earlier, but Michael Bullock had plans tonight, and I wanted to accommodate him since we were just running the show tonight, just us. And since there was no Derek Ferreira, who was doing the WWE House Show and the Strictly Sports blog site, and Michael Fletcher with his work commitments, so that was to accommodate him. We do apologize for the late start. So, all right. So with that said, special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make Strictly Sports NFL Saturday and College Football Friday, along with the Wrestling Forum, as ridiculously over as they are. We appreciate it as always. Of course, our super fans, Dee Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson and the family. Of course, Matt Ward, Jason Nixonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK. Kaiser Butler, the First Lady of Strictly Sports, Megan Silva, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, our colleagues, Derek Ferreira, the Hardcore Pipe Bomb, like I said, went to a live event at the Dunk tonight, as well as the WordPress blog commitments as well. So that's why Derek wasn't with us tonight, but he will be back with us next Saturday night for this show. So nothing to worry about there. And then of course Michael Fletcher as well, work commitments. So hopefully we'll see him Monday night for the Forum. Of course, the rest of our crew, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Alvarez, and Jimmy Alden, Rob Parsons, they know who they are. So, of course, Ken Bell from Channel 6, Joe Kayada and Frank Carpano from Channel 10, Yanni Caracas, Mark Dondero, and Patrick Little from Channel 12. Of course, Jenny Dell, formerly in Nesson, now with CBS. She'll be doing the Texans-Cowboys game tomorrow, so that should be good. Along with Ian Eagle and Dan Fouts. Did a great job in London last week for that Dolphin-Raider game. Of course, Cassidy Hubbard from ESPN, big day for her. It's her alma mater, Northwestern, with a big win today against the Wisconsin Badgers. So big win for her indeed. So I know she had a great day as well. Of course, my other favorite personalities are Julie Alexandria, who did a show called MLB 162 for Fox Sports 1. Love her work. She's amazing. Of course, also from ESPN, not just Cassidy Hubbard, but Jamie Sire as well, Sarah Walsh. Lindsay Zarniak and Jay McCarthy as well. Love their bodies of work. Of course, Robert Flores, Todd Grisham, formerly of the WWE, same with Jonathan Coachman, also from the WWE. So love those guys. The college football crew as well. They did a great job today. And of course, Fox Sports 1, Molly McGrath, Carissa Thompson, Danielle Trotta from the NASCAR Race Hub, Jill Arrington, who does the news updates, Julie Stewart-Binks. And I know that too, yes. And of course, our other personalities, Regis Philbin, Georgie Thompson, Jason Gay, Michael Costa, Trevor Price, and Katie Nolan, formerly of Crowd Goes Wild. Of course, Crystal Tooney, our good friend. Hope to see her with some new content soon. And of course, our friends from the Road Show, can't forget about them. Former co-host Megan Mooney, who is absolutely killing it in Denver right now. Doing some great things down there. We missed it here in Rhode Island dearly, me especially. Mary Larson, who's now the chorus director of East Greenwich High School, so congrats to her on that promotion. And, of course, the three folks who currently run the show nowadays, of course, Brendan Kirby, Will Gilbert, Michaela Johnson, and, of course, their executive producer, Ashley Erling, doing some great things on that. Best damn morning show in all of New England, hands down. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's a fun show to watch every single day. I watch it every day. It's a great show, and I know Will does too, so love that show. So, of course, last but not least, I would like to, at this time, extend a formal invitation for Stata Sorrell or Lindsay McCormick, our two favorite girls, to join us. I'm hoping that we can get them on next Friday night for College Football Friday. Because remember, Derek Ferrer is not going to be here. He's going to be in Hartford covering the U.S. men's soccer team, and who knows about Michael Fletcher. I mean, is he going to have work commitments? I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully not, but we'll see. But I'll be here. I'm sure Bullock will be here, and Bullock will be here as well. And if we can get one of them or both of them, I mean, it would be definitely the biggest Strictly Sports College Football Friday of all time. And I'm kind of hoping we can get them on to discuss all the mayhem that happened in the college football world today. I don't know. I don't know if Sorrell's Arkansas played or not, but I do know Lindsay McCormick's Auburn played. And oh boy, did they come to play tonight! A big whooping over LSU, 41-7. I mean, my goodness, they holiday anthem. So, a major special shout out to our two favorite girls, Stata Sorrell and Lindsay McCormick. We would love to have you with us on Strictly Sports College Football Friday, this upcoming Friday night. It would mean so much. It really would. All right, that's going to do it for us. So before we wrap it up, of course, future content, of course, next time you'll see us will be Monday night for the Wrestling Forum, which I'm sure will probably be going on another profanity-laced rant, I'm sure, again, because, these Monday Night Raws lately, they've been sucking ass as of late, and I am just hopeful that this next edition of Monday Night Raw from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, God forbid, if this is another bad show, you know what's going to happen. You're going to have a ridiculously over Phenom, maybe Cerebral Viper if he's here, a ridiculously over Cerebral Viper Phenom rant coming at you this Monday night. You won't have Derek Ferrera. He'll have his own podcast because, he's doing the Monday Night Football thing for the next couple more weeks.
Oh, and I'm going to make a bold statement. I think you're going to get another rant because I just get a bad feeling it's going to be another bad edition of Monday Night Raw. Sorry to say it.
Wouldn't surprise me in the least, Bullock. I mean, these shows have been just so damn awful as of late, so god-awful as of late. I mean, Night of Champions was great, yes, but these Raws have been terrible. I mean, I don't know what's worse. I mean, Bullock had a debate question. Who's the better Baylor quarterback between Bryce Petty and Robert Griffin III? Well, I'm going to throw out a little debate question of my own, and I want you to think about this, Bullock. What's been more worse? These last few weeks of Monday Night Raw or Thursday Night NFL football? What's been worse? I don't know.
Thursday Night NFL.
Yeah, you're probably right on that. But we'll have to wait and see on it. We'll get into that another day. But yeah, so Monday Night Wrestling Forum, that's where we'll be. We'll be right back here on the Zone 25, immediately following Monday Night Raw. I'll be here. Michael Bullock will be here. Hopefully Michael Fletcher will be here. Hopefully he won't have work commitments. Derek Ferrer, however, will not be here because, he'll be doing Monday Night Football. And then, of course, next Friday night, another big edition of Strictly Sports College Football Friday. I think it's going to be even bigger than the last one.
Yeah, and here's a little suggestion. If you can't stand watching Monday Night Raw, well, how about you just watch this instead?
WWE Network. And how much is that, Bullock? It slipped my mind.
$9.99.
Okay, $9.99. I just wanted to be sure on that. Okay. So yeah. Monday Night Wrestling Forum, and then, of course, next Friday, Strictly Sports College Football Friday. I think this is going to be an even bigger show than this last one was because of all the upsets and all the mayhem. And also, remember, biggest shakeup in power rankings history, in the history of our show, regardless of the sport. That's enough to be said on that. So you definitely want to tune in. And I am hopeful that we can get either Stata Sorrell or Lindsay McCormick on the show. And if we do, look out. That's all I can say. And then, of course, next Saturday night, Strictly Sports NFL Saturday, Derek Ferrera will be back. He'll be back at the controls. So we'll see what happens with that. So that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you tuning in on this long night. So with that said, until Monday night for the Wrestling Forum, it's Ridiculously Over Anthony Floyer or the Phenom Michael Bullock, and in spirit, the Hardcore Python Derek Ferrera and our Cerebral Viper Michael Fletcher. This is Ridiculously Over Anthony Floyer saying, the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up 4 style. Enjoy the NFL football. And until Monday night for the Wrestling Forum, you've been watching Strictly Sports NFL Saturday right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube.com. Bye for now, my friends. God bless and be good to each other.